How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's Nex here, and I hope you all managed to enjoy the Christmas holidays. There is less than 2 months remaining of filming of Game of Thrones Season 7, which means it's not going to be long before we're given a brand new trailer. Bring it on. Following some amazing questions, I decided to start this year off with a Q&A discussion around some hot topics, which includes Nymeria and the Wolfpack, Bran Stark, the Wall falling, Syrio Forel, and much more. But before we get to that, some quick news about my upload schedule. I've been doing approximately one video every 2 weeks, but I'm going to up my game now and release one video every single week. And it's either going to be on a Friday or a Saturday. So vote now in the poll and let's get the day decided. Now then, let's move on to the Q&A. First question from Augusto Ramirez Diaz. What do you think the role of the direwolves in the Super PAC will be in the next season? I think this is going to massively depend on how Dan and Dave want to incorporate book content into the TV series. One thing we haven't seen yet is how Arya has a war connection with Nymeria, and it was under her control when she dragged, Catelyn Stark out of the river, and it led to Cat becoming Lady Stoneheart. Keeping in mind that as things stand, they've completely skipped around this element from the books, and also it's extremely expensive to add in direwolves into the post-production, so they're going to miss that out if they can. However, I do think that Arya will run into Nymeria, perhaps on her way, through the Riverlands back to Winterfell. Maybe, they would help her out on the road, if she gets into some kind of trouble on the way back. Or something that I think would be a really epic moment is if they did something similar to what Avatar did and have like the super direwolf pack show up to save Jon and co in one of the final battles. Next up from Charlwood. What is your favourite place in the Game of Thrones world? His is the Wall. I think my favourite location has changed, as the show has kind of progressed on. So earlier on, it was definitely Winterfell and King's Landing. Like the scene when you have King Robert, and his entourage rocking up to Winterfell, and you've got the royal music playing in the background. And before that, in the Winterfell courtyard, you see the Stark children laughing and playing, and it's always a bit of a sad moment for me when I watch the earlier seasons back, because you're reminded by what kind of place Winterfell used to be. King's Landing has always been a central point of focus, for drama, sex, violence, but I think once, Varys and Tyrion left and went to Essos, they lost two of the most interesting characters in that particular environment. And then when King Tommen, came to power, I really lost interest with King's Landing pretty much altogether. The best place for me has to be the Land of Always Winter. There is so much mystery surrounding that place that it always makes me excited when we get to go back there. It's like when it's in that particular area of Westeros, you feel like something big is going to go down every single time. Also, I'm super excited to see if the White Walkers have got a full-blown community of their own. Question 3 from Kitty Maru. What is your overall opinion of Syrio Forel still being alive? Well, there is still the possibility that Syrio is Jaqen Gahar, and I would like to keep that dream alive. It's always been a widely speculated theory that holds two of the biggest questions. How and why was Jaqen in the Black Cells in the first place if he's not Syrio? And also, why wouldn't they just show us Syrio Forel being killed if he is indeed dead? Again, you could argue though that if Jaqen is Syrio, then why would they keep him alive if they were able to beat him in the first place? I think something that would, massively help us out with this is if we ever got to find out why Jaqen was in King's Landing in the first place. Question 4 from Kunal Verma. Can you explain? Qyburn was saved by Robb and Catelyn Stark, but then went on to be a sadist for Cersei? Why? Well, for starters, I think up until Qyburn went to the capital, I don't think he particularly had any allegiance. Like most mad scientists, he is obsessed with his work, and to be fair, Cersei doesn't exactly give a shit what practices he preaches, just as long as they benefit her. We have got no idea where Qyburn is from, but I don't think he's portrayed as someone who is traditionally from the north. He went into the service of the Boltons, and helping Jaime was his one ticket away from them. Whatever his plan is clearly working. He's gone from deathbed to hand of the queen. Fair play to him. Question 5 from Marcus Taylor. Who do you think is a better commander, Randyll or Stannis? If it went to a showdown between the two commanders and they both had equal forces, my money is on Randyll. Stannis is a decorated commander, but his greed for the Iron Throne has cost him 2 wars and ultimately his life. He was quite unfortunate though in his first battle at the Blackwater Bay, because it was really Tywin and his new alliance with the Tyrells that was Stannis' undoing. People who haven't read the books might not entirely be aware that it was Randyll Tarly who led the Tyrell and the Lannister forces in the defense of King's Landing. Randyll was also the only commander who took the one single victory from Robert Baratheon during his rebellion. It's a tough one to call, but one thing's for sure, it would be an amazing battle. I've combined question 6 from 2 people's submissions because they are both extremely important and very similar in my mind. So, Nexus TK says, what do you think Bran is going to be doing in Season 7? Do you think he is a time traveller? Is he actually Bran the Builder from the past? And also, what other events from the past do you think that he's changed? And Clever Canary asked, what role will Bran play in the inevitable battle between the White Walkers? Which side will he ultimately stand on? And how will his arc come to an end? So far, Bran has been pegged as one of the most detrimental characters needed to be able to fight the White Walkers and to save humanity. The Three-Eyed Raven has been waiting years for him. Jojen also gave his life knowing what it would mean, and so did Hodor. There is obviously something different about Bran's green seer abilities that will change everything, but does that mean he can time travel? Of course he can, and given the scene at the Tower of Joy, you have to assume that he can commune with certain people too. Is that why Ned Stark liked to spend so much time in the Godswoods? Is that why Aerys II Targaryen went mad? Because he tried to commune with him in the past. The only reason why I don't think he will have an ultimate control over his powers, as to, where he can go to and who he can speak to, is because it would raise the easiest question. If he would ever be able to do those kind of things, then why wouldn't Bran just travel back and tell the Children of the Forest never to create the White Walkers? I also think the same applies as to whether he's Bran the Builder, because if he learns how to physically time travel, then again, why would it only be to build the wall? I think Bran's role in Season 7 is going to be to get to the big tree, at the center of the Isle of the Faces where they made the pact between the First Men and the Children of the Forest. And more importantly, to find a way of seeing what happened when the first members of the Night's Watch were able to beat back the White Walkers. Will this include a huge payoff of seeing whether Azor Ahai is more than just a myth, and how they can bring about a return of Lightbringer? Question 7 from Stefan Hanus. When do you think the wall is going down? If it doesn't come down in Season 7, then I'm genuinely going to be disappointed. There is way too much that we don't know about the others and the land of Always Winter, so the sooner it comes down for me, the better. And let's be honest, it would make for one hell of a season finale or an episode ending. The anticipation of what would happen next would just be epic. But then again, I don't know if I want to wait another full year before we see the proper invasion of the White Walkers. Given that they've extended filming until the end of February, I think it's a huge indication that there is going to be a lot of scenes within a winter environment. Is that because the wall falls earlier than we expect in the season? Question 8 from Sudanshu Sid. Do you think that Melisandre and Arya will meet again, and what will happen if they do? Definitely. Melisandre has obviously made a mistake, thinking that Stannis was Azor Ahai and that it was him who was victorious in the Battle of Winterfell, but I think she's demonstrated more capability than inadequacy. She saw Jon Snow fighting in the flames outside of Winterfell and she was right. She was able to bring him back from the dead. She gave birth to a shadow demon. She drank poison and lived, and she used King's blood to bring about the death of Joffrey Baratheon and Robb Stark. When she first met Arya, she foresaw that the two would cross paths again, and I think she's right with this one, and there's a good chance that they're going to meet again in the Riverlands. Initially, I think that Arya is going to want to try and kill Melisandre, but when she learns that they didn't kill Gendry and that he's still alive, I don't think she'll go through with it. I'm not sure what role is going to be left for Mel in the remaining part of the story, given that the North won't have her anymore, but I think she'll find a way of serving Jon from afar. She is deeply religious, and after reviving Jon, she will definitely do anything for who she believes is Azor Ahai. Question 9 from Waymar. Why did Jon not get Melisandre to revive Rickon? I mean, is he not thought to be the last surviving son of Ned Stark? Well, I think this is quite a simple answer, to be honest. I mean, Jon himself was not at ease at being brought back to life, and he even said it himself that he should not be here. He also ordered Melisandre before the Battle of the Bastards that he did not want to be resurrected again should he be killed for a second time. Given Jon's thinking and logic, there is no doubt that he would have thought that it would have been an insult to his memory to bring him back from the dead, and that there was more honour in letting him rest in the crypts. Also, don't forget, Bran Stark is actually the last surviving true-born son of Ned and Catelyn Stark. And finally, question 10 from Natasha Farlow. How will the Night King die? There are almost too many answers and variable factors to this question, and given everything we've seen in the TV show, it makes it nearly impossible to predict. A lucky dragonglass spear or arrow? A showdown between him and Jon Snow? Melted into a puddle by Drogon? Would fire or dragonglass even have any effect on him? He obviously has some additional powers that the other White Walkers don't. For instance, he can make additional White Walkers just from his touch, and it looks like he might even be a Green Seer himself, or at least some extension of one, because otherwise, how was he able to touch Bran when he went back to the gravestones? My guess though, I don't think that he's going to die, or at least not some sort of, glorified death from fighting in a war. If the Night King does represent good, or is some sort of interpretation of Mother Nature in this story, then you can guarantee that the bittersweet ending is not with the people of Westeros winning this war. Certainly not without making some sort of deal to guarantee their survival in the futures. Personally though, I'm pretty cheesy, and I'd love to see Jon Snow become Azor Ahai and have some sick throwdown where he uses Lightbringer to take down the Night King. Alright guys, that brings the Q&A to an end. Thank you for watching. Please give me your thoughts on what you thought of the questions that were asked, and if you have your own answers, then make sure you put them down in the comments below. Subscribe, tap that like button, and until next time guys, take it easy.